The Wonderful World of Darklords. Report 33. The Labyrinth. I wish someone would come and take this magic away. Right now. The moment those words left my mouth, I knew that uttering them was among the most rash and foolish things I had ever done. One should never make wishes idly, as it is impossible to know who may be listening. Perhaps I had been fortunate, and no one had heard my words. But my pack felt lighter, and when I opened it, I saw to my dismay that my Book of Shadows was gone. My hurried attempts to use Eldritch Sight and to cast a simple cantrip met with failure. It was as though I had tried to use magic before meeting my patron. I had not specified that I wished to be rid of my troublesome surges of wild magic. I simply wished to be rid of this magic, throwing the details on the mercy of whomever happened to hear. To my great misfortune, whomever happened to hear was the Goblin King, Jareth, who hid my magic away in the heart of his labyrinth with a promise. If I reached the center of the labyrinth in 13 hours, my magic would return to me. If not, I would be his creature forever. The Lord. As I stood at the edge of Paradise Falls, attempting to regain my bearings, a tremor shook the earth beneath my feet. I stepped back, alarmed, but the ground crumbled away and I was falling. But slowly, gently, as though I had cast Featherfall on myself, and the spectacular vista around me vanished into blackness. I landed on my hands and knees on hard, dry ground. Certainly not the lush jungle at the foot of Paradise Falls. As I tried to catch my breath, a black-gloved hand appeared in my field of vision. I took it, unthinking, and a tall and elegant figure pulled me to my feet. When I met his eerily mismatched eyes, I knew I was in the presence of Jareth, the Goblin King. I would later learn more about Jareth, that he was less than thrilled at having inherited his throne and chafed at the inane and tedious company of his subjects, that he believed he could bring any opponent to their knees with a stern glance and became as ill-tempered as a child in the face of resistance. That beneath his petulance was an air of desperation, a terror of being bested that went far beyond the desire to maintain face. The goblins would fawn at Jareth's feet no matter how he fared in any given conflict. He surely had no fear of losing their approval. Somehow, although he had not met me until that moment, Jareth craved my submission, specifically, and for its own sake. But at that moment, all I knew was that I was in the presence of the legendary Goblin King, a figure whom I had always assumed to be a mere bedtime story. I took in the scene around me, a desolate landscape of barren trees beneath a twilight sky, and in the distance, a sprawling labyrinth, and said an extraordinarily self-evident thing. This isn't Paradise Falls, is it? The Goblin King folded his arms, a smirk playing about his thin lips.
No. You know who I am. That means you know where you are, and you know why you're here. You asked for my help, and I gave it.
He flourished a crystal ball in one hand, and inside I could see a swirl of magical energy, one with the precise color and luminosity of my Eldritch Blast. I was so outraged that I could not speak, and Jareth needed no invitation to fill the silence. With a gesture, a door appeared, and through it I could see the trees and cottages of Salem.
Go home, Danielle. Forget all this. You no longer bear the burden of putting your life at risk to further the goals of a tyrant.
How terribly kind of you. I don't suppose you'll give it back if I ask nicely, will you? That little smirk played around his lips again, and he held out the crystal. I knew he would not give it to me, yet I could not help but reach for it. Just before my fingertips could brush it, it popped like a soap bubble.
What's said is said. You wished your magic away. I took it. What's that if not kindness? You want it back, it's there.
He pointed to the labyrinth and the castle at its center.
But beware. Do you really think you're any kind of match for me? You'll be alone in this, Danielle. Aslan can't help you here.
That cruel knife twist of his mouth again, as a clock appeared beside him.
There's only one king in the labyrinth.
The land. The Labyrinth follows a logic more akin to tales of the Feywild than to our own world. Walls shift when one's back is turned. A door that leads to a forest when pulled might open to a hedge maze when pushed. A journey through a subterranean cavern ends atop a hill beneath open sky, even though the cavern never once sloped upwards. Another feature of the Labyrinth, perhaps even stranger, was how familiar everything seemed. There was nothing so prosaic as entering a maze that looked precisely like the halls of the beast's castle, or encountering a talking cat. Nonetheless, everything seemed jumbled together from images and ideas that existed in my own mind, like some kind of dream. It was spring when I left Paradise Falls, yet the Labyrinth was in the full glory of autumn, with brilliantly colored trees, crisp breezes, and air that smelled of apples and wood smoke. I am sure that I need not tell my patron why autumn looms large in my mind. The forest through which I traveled was not the Sieni, nor Mononoke Forest, nor Sherwood, but the looming trees and the sense of being watched reminded me of all three. The same held true for the people I encountered. I did not recognize anyone within the Labyrinth, yet I had the strange feeling that I had met all of them before. The soft-spoken red and green clockwork golem, the talking badger in a cleric's habit, the young woman made of stardust. The only exception, the time when I could clearly recognize people and places from my own life, was when I took a bite from an apple but I can scarcely recall that now, as though it were a dream that dissolved upon waking. Curiously, I found that each segment of the Labyrinth had its own distinctive character and challenges. The red and orange firefly-like insects that beset my companions and me along the shoreline, attempting to persuade me to save my own skin and leave my companions for dead, did not follow us into any other area of the Labyrinth. Nor did the trio of tiny masked goblins in the black and angular maze who attempted to push me into a sack and take me back to the beginning. Residents of the Labyrinth were aware of certain universal areas, to be sure. The castle, the goblin city, the bog of eternal stench, but they had little knowledge or curiosity about anything beyond their doorsteps. It was as though each area of the Labyrinth were its own separate dream that did not bleed into the dreams before and after it. Dread possibilities. Eventually, I made my way to the Goblin City, which looked like nothing so much as a quaint fairy tale village gone to seed. All the tricks and illusions of the Labyrinth were gone now. Jareth was relying on brute force, sending wave after wave of goblins after me in an attempt to beat me into submission. I was able to get past them with the help of the companions I had met, and I entered the castle to find an empty throne room. And beyond it, a room made of dizzying stairways, where it was impossible to tell up from down, from left from right. Jareth strode along the walls and the undersides of floors as though gravity itself bent to his whims, while I was still at the mercy of the laws of nature. Sitting on a stairway far below me was my Book of Shadows. I had no time for this. I leapt into the void, toward the book, and once again found myself falling with agonizing slowness, as though I had cast Featherfall, into a crumbling room that floated in the void. In the center of the room, looking haggard and dressed in a robe of white feathers, was Jareth. I did it. I solved your labyrinth. I found the center. Give me my magic.
Why? So you can go back to scratching for his approval and a few crumbs of his power? He doesn't care about you. You're a pawn to be sacrificed for an interesting magic item. And once he's thrown you aside, will he even remember your name?
I tried not to let the words sting. You think his high opinion matters to me? That I expect him to pat me on the head, perhaps to give me candies for a job well done? Spare me, Jareth. My bluster did not have the effect I intended. Instead, some of the weariness vanished from Jareth's face. His eyes grew clearer, and he began to advance on me, no longer shrinking back from my approach.
You are nothing to him. You don't matter. No one does. There's only one person Aslan has ever loved, and he died a long time ago. But you matter to me. You're the most important person in my world. Stay here with me, and I will cherish you forever. Do you want magic? I'll give you the power to shape the labyrinth to your whim. Do you want to be safe? Nothing enters these walls unless I will it. Everything you want is here with me.
I hesitated. I had no desire to stay, to abandon my family to whatever fate might befall them without my help. Beyond that, beneath the romanticism that even he seemed to believe, Jareth was as much a beautiful predator as the owl whose feathers he wore. I was certain that if I stayed in the Labyrinth, things would not be as idyllic as the picture he painted. And yet, I could see a grain of truth in his words. Despite my bravado that had only strengthened him, I do wonder what ultimate purpose I am furthering in this endeavor. And sometimes I fear... Seeing my hesitation, Jareth pressed forward.
I'll be your patron. I'll be your older brother. I'll be anything you need me to be. Just surrender.
I took a deep breath. You're right. If I stayed here, you would hold me securely, and you would never let me go. I could see the beginnings of a smile on his face. As securely as a little girl tied to a chair. Now give me my goddamned magic back! Jareth's smile faltered, and the labyrinth crumbled into nothing around me. I found myself standing once again atop Paradise Falls, my book of shadows at my feet, and the mournful cries of an owl in my ears. Parting thoughts. Please, Yensid, do not lecture me on the foolishness of my wish. Should you ever have the misfortune of smelling the bug of eternal stench, you will agree that I have received punishment enough. Nothing has triggered my wild magic as of yet, but I can feel in my bones that it is here. Despite the troubles it caused me in Paradise Falls, I no longer wish to be rid of it. It is mine, and mine only. There is something to be said for that. Holding a dagger as a mist talisman, I prepared for the next leg of my journey, but I hesitated for one final moment, listening to the last echoes of the owl's cry on the cliffs. I could have stayed, I know. I could have lived in a pretty dollhouse built of my own dreams. But what would it cost? Everything. Regards, D.
I will not chastise you, Danielle. Even a tyrant such as I have spoken the deepest desires of my heart aloud, much to my own regret. Such desperation is what sets us apart from entities such as Jareth, who cannot comprehend the tenacious dreams of another. He expects capitulation, and any resistance befuddles and frustrates him. He is nothing more than a child, wielding the power of a king of the land of empty desires. You have done well to take back what was stolen from you. Many others have failed in their endeavors to solve the Goblin King's labyrinth. Jareth should have recognized the foolishness in attempting to play his games against my little obstinate servant. But perhaps I give him too much credit. After all, he is not entirely his own creature, and he shall never allow himself to be. I shall respect your decision to maintain the wild magic infection you develop after the events in San Francisco, and will monitor your progress. The effects upon your person may provide valuable data on the use of such unstable magic. And of course, should you need me, I will extract it with ease.
This has been The Wonderful World of Darklords. We have no affiliation with Disney or Wizards of the Coast. All music recordings used in this episode are in the public domain and were obtained through museopen.org. Titles and links are in the show notes. Dialogue for Yensid was written by Aslan Rex himself, who you can follow on Tumblr at darklordaslan. The Wonderful World of Darklords logo was designed by Haylight Jones. You can find links to their work in the show notes. If you'd like to support the show, look for us on patreon.com or find our tip jar on Red Circle. Thanks for listening.